It's so great to be here at this Seed Summit with you. And thank you for the opportunity to present for you today virtually. My name is Arina Melkazernova.
Hello, my name is Chloe Larson.
I am a PhD candidate in the Comparative Culture and Language program at the School of International Letters and Culture at Arizona State University. My research focuses on non-Western knowledge systems. I'm involved in the collaboration on digital archiving the Coushatta tribe of Louisiana and the Mova Choctaw tribe band in Alabama.
I'm about to graduate from my undergrad from Barrett Honors College at ASU with 2 degrees in chemistry and Italian. Over the past year, Arina and I have been working with Professor Vitillo, who is an associate professor of Italian studies and the co-director of the Humanities Lab here at ASU. And over this year, our team has been researching the history and culture of the Mediterranean lifestyle, particularly in southern Italy. And we're looking into strategies that are used to maintain that lifestyle in Italian communities. And so we're documenting possible ways of translating it to local food systems through knowledge of one's own regional and indigenous traditions. So I want to begin by discussing why Italian women are entering agriculture and highlighting these women's stories as to why they became farmers and how these farmers are connected to their territory and communities.
Then we will introduce you to the Anthropological Museum of Magic and explain why it's important for youth in Basilicata, Italy. Last fall, I was fortunate to meet and interview women farmers in the Basilicata region, Italy. Concetta La Rocca stood out as an innovative leader and an activist dedicated to preserving local heritage varieties of plants.
Female farmers are becoming increasingly noted and gaining a larger presence in Italy. According to the magazine Agricoltore in Genere, in 2019, in a national level in Italy, around 35% of agricultural tourism is female run. And it's interesting to note that 43% of those farms are located in southern Italy. During the last decade, from 2010 to 2019, some regions in Italy with the largest presence of female farmers are in Basilicata and Campania, where nearly 50% of the farms in those regions are female run. An increasingly important form of farming is fattoria didattica, which is a type of farming that implements learning techniques and to have children come and learn and develop a relationship with the land. And these include interactive activities and opportunities to learn about the plants, sustainability, and preserving biodiversity.
Concetta La Rocca lives in Basilicata, Parco Nazionale di Pollino. Concetta and her husband bought the abandoned land and worked hard to certify their farm as organic. Because of her training as an ethnobotanist, Concetta was able to identify the heritage pear that grows in her farm. She grafted and multiplied this variety and became a biocustodian or biocustodian of Pera Signora, which is a local antique pear variety. Her happy childhood memories associated with this pear played an important role in her decision to become a farmer. She talks about these trees as her children. Concetta is determined to preserve the taste of this authentic pear for future generations by producing juice, dry fruits, and selling fresh pears on the local farmers market. Her friend Teresa also holds the title Agricoltore Custode. She was the one who attended the Medicinal Plants Museum in Tuscany and teamed up with Concetta to create a similar one in Basilicata.
Concetta explains her title of biocustodian. She explains it is a symbolic term that because they are the preservers and caretakers of these antique varieties.
Noi stiamo dando vita a questi agricoltori custodi e tu ci sei proprio dentro. E quindi ci hanno riconosciuto a me e a lei il titolo di agricoltore custode che è un titolo oggi come oggi puramente simbolico, perché non abbiamo, nonostante noi preserviamo queste antiche varietà, e quindi io penso che sia una cosa, un salvataggio che interessa tutta l'umanità, quello che noi facciamo, intanto le nostre comunità e poi tutto il resto, però noi lo facciamo. Non ci dispiacerebbe avere anche un ritorno economico, però noi lo facciamo soprattutto per convinzione e per passione.
This March, Concetta was elected as the president of the Basilicata branch of Donne in Campo, which is a national and regional organization in Italy which connect women in the agricultural sector. She runs a farm and is actively involved in her community and of farmers and organizations. She is also involved in another organization called ALZIA, which in Italian is Azienda Lucana di Sviluppo e di Innovazione in Agricoltura. And in English, this means the Institute of Development and Innovation in Agriculture in Basilicata. And this organization focuses on research and innovative techniques in agriculture. They also support farmers' production. They value the quality of produce and implement limited use of pesticides. Concetta became a farmer because of her passion and conviction for planting and watching the seeds grow and collecting produce and the importance of eating well. In this clip, she talks about the importance of her work for everyone and what that work entails and how she enjoys the process of farming and the cycles of planting and the seeds, watching them grow and seeing them again the following year with the change of the seasons.
Perché anche perché ci piace proprio vedere la pianta che cresce, seminarla, piantarla, raccogliere i semi, raccogliere i frutti, conservarli, vedere l'anno dopo se cresce, se nasce, sceglierle, riprodurle di nuovo. Ci piace questo e poi ci piace anche mangiare bene. E allora ci piace mangiare le cose che noi coltiviamo e continuiamo in questa opera.
This passage describes the process of so-called repetition, which is the foundation of healthy farming practices. Michael Katutwa Johnson, a Hopi farmer, PhD scholar, and assistant specialist of the Indigenous Resiliency Center at the University of Arizona, in his recent talk at the 2022 Food Summit, Indigenizing Food Systems, explained the meaning of repetition as the closest to Hopi word describing Hopi traditions of farming in arid lands of North American Southwest. However, I didn't capture its meaning until Dr. Sheila Nicholas, a Hopi linguist, explained the difference in meaning between maintenance and repetition. Maintenance has no spiritual value as repetition does. Repetition contains the regenerative energy and spiritual connections to the Hopi creation story that is deeply rooted in the land. The like-mindedness between carriers of the traditional ecological knowledge and the traditional local knowledge is nourished by relationships to the land that are sacred for indigenous stewards of the biodiversity and significant for biocustodians in South Italy. By repeating planting, seeding, caring, harvesting every season, farmers share their responsibilities for protecting biodiversity and regenerating food waste around the world. This shows that there are many more things that unite us than divide us. This is why Concetta's experience with establishing the Museum of the Medicinal Plants could be an inspirational model for preserving traditional ecological and traditional local knowledges in the community.
Concetta is actively involved as one of the founders of the Medicinal Plant Museum, or the Anthropological Museum of Magic. This museum is a form of didactic operations that exist in Italy to promote learning about the place and territory and reconnecting to the land. This museum functions to preserve the history and knowledge of the plants in Basilicata. At the museum, visitors can make amulets with herbs, and this is a tradition from this region and to the nearby town Colobraro, and it shows the importance, the cultural importance of these herbs that grow spontaneously in this land and are indigenous to the territory. And Concetta explains that before COVID, young students would come to visit the museum and would learn and were eager and intrigued to ask questions and participate. So in the clip, she elaborates on the objectives of the Anthropological Museum of Magic and why it's important for the youth.
L'obiettivo, Giuliano, è proprio quello, non solo ai bambini ma anche agli adulti. Abbiamo perso il rapporto con il nostro territorio, è una cosa che io ho notato, non mi sono resa conto, e quindi lavorando con i bambini, poi mi sono accorta che i genitori non sapevano nulla e quindi l'idea nostra è proprio questa, di riappropriarci per quando è possibile, perché i tempi sono quelli che sono, un rapporto più stretto con il proprio territorio.
She also shares a story about, at the table with the amulets, about the importance and qualities of rosemary as a medicinal plant and its properties.
Anche il rosmarino è magico, il rosmarino è una pianta magica da sempre, dagli antichi greci, è ritenuta una pianta magica che tiene lontano le cattive, come devo dire, le influenze negative dalle persone, veniva presa vicino alle case e poi viene usata anche come aroma. Noi oggi lo usiamo come aroma nella nostra cucina, in realtà si fa nel 1700 la regina d'Ungheria scoprì che aveva questo potere di ringiovanire.
We have a few pictures of museum interior for you. What we cannot share with you is the smell and aroma of dried plants hanging from the ceiling. We cannot translate our tactile feelings from touching seeds, jars, alchemical blisters, and other artifacts that connect you to the medieval history of the place. According to the results of the ethnobotanical survey, an area of Basilicata were in evident contrast with what's happening in the rest of Italy. We can still witness a large folk use of plants, and a rich and intense memory of their uses is present. Due to history, economy, and tradition, this area could potentially be a precious source of information already lost in other places. The Anthropological Museum of Magic connects the medicinal knowledge of plants accumulated since medieval and even ancient time in the region of Basilicata to the magical legends of the area, because in the villages of the Valle de Sini, Calabrara does not even mention it. They call it in dialect only, quote, that country, quote. It all stems from the legend about the alleged unnamed ability of the word Calabrara, because just naming it brings bad luck. The folk narrative conveys the unique and authentic character of the place and illustrates the creativity of folk healers, mostly women, in protecting and preserving their knowledge through generations. The museum supports agro and ecotourism, attracts tourists and locals, and continues to effectively educate children about the history and traditions of the place where they live.
In the following clip, Concetta talks about tensions that surrounded women in the past who had knowledge of medicinal plants and of their properties, and that knowledge intimidated people.
Alla media di tutti gli altri. Sì. E quello è sempre quello.
Tutto quello che non si può dominare si cerca di schiacciare.
Ed era naturale, perché le donne sono quelle che si prendevano la cura della propria famiglia, della propria prole. Per crescere i propri figli le donne si sono ingegnate a curarli, anche se poi nella storia noi abbiamo altri che ci hanno tramandato gli scritti.
Poi è arrivata la scienza, però all'inizio comunque loro erano le donne che erano adibite
Non
alla
solo
cura delle
all'inizio, pure
famiglie.
sempre, anche adesso,
Cioè noi ci
nelle
prendiamo il
campagne,
tempo di
nelle
masticare.
campagne isolate, e se un bimbo stava male, ma chi lo curava?
La mamma, è ovvio.
La mamma, oppure ci si rivolgeva a qualcuno del vicinato che era più esperta e che conosceva un po' di erbe, un po' qualcosa che gli era stato tramandato. Infatti, non a caso, alcune cose venivano tramandate solo nella famiglia e alcune
Proprio perché
conoscenze.
si diventava un bene prezioso che tu con cui potevi anche campare in certi momenti.
Anche.
The museum really connects the visitors to the history of women healers and clears the misconceptions about their magical cures and powers. The museum represents women healers as knowledge holders and keepers in the community's intelligence regarding medicinal properties of local herbs, recipes, and treatment for cure from various diseases.
At the local farmers market, we have met a young couple who is managing the spontaneous medicinal garden business. They produce tea mixes based on their family recipes and collaborate with the university on certifying the medicinal properties of the varieties they grow. The type of business is becoming a trend in South Italy.
Concetta also introduced us to the spontaneous medicinal plants garden at her farm. Because of new laws, farmers can get spontaneous and cultivated herbs that they have found on their land to be able to sell them at local farmers markets.
We brought the story of Concetta and Teresa to your attention. And if you're interested to learn more about their experiences and business plans, please reach out to us for networking.
In conclusion, we want to emphasize the role of women farmers who have been caretakers and protectors of seeds, who have been visionaries, advocates, and leaders of the movement to regenerate community health by growing, protecting, and eating seeds. Let me finish with the excerpt from Franco Arminio's poem, Give Way to the Trees. A note about Franco Arminio. He defines himself as a landscape poet, and Italians consider him as one of the greatest and most influential living Italian poets. His lyrics and his writings are inspired by the everyday, never trivialized and explain life, where the environment, trees, and landscape are seen and described as irrepressible goods of existence. So here's the excerpt. Abbiamo bisogno di contadini, di poeti, gente che si fare il pane, che ama gli alberi e riconoscere il vento, più che l'anno della crescita. Ci vorrebbe l'anno della attenzione. Attenzione a chi cade, al sole che nasce e che muore, ai ragazzi che crescono. Attenzione anche a un semplice lampione, a un muro strozzato. Oggi essere rivoluzionari significa togliere più che aggiungere, rallentare più che accelerare. Significa dare valore al silenzio, alla luce, alla fragilità, alla dolcezza.
I translate it for you. We need peasants, poets, people who know how to make bread, who love trees and recognize the wind. More than the year of growth, it would take the year of attention. Attention to those who fall, to the rising and dying sun, to the children who grow up. Also pay attention to a simple lamppost, to a peeling wall. Today, being a revolutionary means taking away rather than adding, slowing down rather than accelerating. It means giving value to silence, to light, to fragility, to sweetness. Thank you.